was, or have been rather, with the frequency with which I upload, paired with then starting a new full-time job, and then, I was just kind of burning the candle at both ends a little bit. So for the sake of dealing with that burnout, I kind of just decided to take a little bit of time to myself there. But also this coming week at work, I have a bunch of out-of-work conferences and stuff. So I had to schedule everything for last week plus this week, because I was kind of working 2 weeks at the same time. Monday through Wednesday, I'm like out at these leadership conferences listening to speeches and things like that instead of in the office working. Not to mention it being my birthday week, so there's just a bunch of different things going on. Took some of those days last week, went in. My fiance and I went to this really nice steakhouse. Went out and had some hookah. Just did a really nice couple of days. But, that is sort of in line with what I want to talk about today, with it being my birthday. Some of you guys have been calling me Unc, as it was, but I am now officially old. I've hit 30. 30, which is kind of crazy to say. To be honest, I was kind of like in denial a little bit about it for the longest time. Especially because I really wasn't satisfied with where I was in life, and I felt like, oh man, like being at 30 and having this many things kind of not going my way, whatever. But I've been a lot happier recently, so I think I've kind of come to terms with it a little bit more. But yeah, so some of you guys were already calling me Unc before, but I think I've now officially, legally reached Unc status. But I've done kind of videos like this before, but looking at my channel demographics, 95% of my audience is male. 42% of my audience is between the ages of 18 and 24 years old, and another 37% of my audience is between the ages of 25 and 34. So that's almost 80% of my audience there is between 18 and 34. And specifically, though, that 18 to like 25, 26 demographic, I've been a man that age in the past, so just talking about some life lessons and things that I've learned along the way, and lessons that I feel like maybe I can impart, or maybe it's just things that can help you out if you're in that group. I did a video talking about relationships in the past, so if that's something that you struggle with, or you want to listen to, I'll put the link to that down below or somewhere around here. These are just, I wrote down 8 things here, but the number doesn't matter, but just some things I've learned and some things that I believe based on my lived experience. These aren't going to be applicable for everybody, because everybody has their own experiences, their own circumstances, things like that, but hopefully you find at least one nugget of wisdom in here. Pick your people. Pick your people and make them important. When I was younger, I cared a lot about what people thought about me, especially I'm thinking high school, early college days. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to be friends with everybody. If somebody didn't like me, it ate me up. I would blame myself for it. It was never their fault they didn't like me. It was never just because oh, everybody's different and not everybody's gonna like everybody else. No, it was some moral failing on my behalf. And I did cast a wide net. I had a very large friend group, but really it was just an acquaintance group, in hindsight, in retrospect. Because I wasn't spending time with those people. And I'm lucky that out of that large acquaintance group, I've had many of them that have stuck around. One of my best and longest friends, I've known him since 6th or 7th grade. So going back to like 2005, 2006, almost 20 years. I've known him a majority of my life. I've been friends with him a majority of my life. He and I were roommates for a period of time. I still talk to him. Obviously those relationships and things change a bit after moving to another country. But even now, multiple continents away, we still talk, we keep in contact. Obviously I have plans to go back home at some point. But pick your people. One of my other good friends, I've known him since just after high school. I talk to him basically every single day. And make those people important. Find the people that are important to you. And, based on a good criteria, not because they're popular or whatever, but they have morals similar to yours. They have beliefs similar to yours. They have interests similar to yours. Or maybe not even similar, but, complementary, or, you guys connect. When you really connect with somebody, it isn't just a superficial connection, when it's like a legitimate, real bond. And when you find that with someone and you have that easy, positive friendship, relationship, make that person important. And I think this is tough, especially for a lot of younger men. We struggle to be sincere, especially with our male friends. We struggle to be open and vulnerable, but I make it a point, tell your friends that you love them. As weird as that might feel at first, tell them you love them. Be open and vulnerable about them, with them. You guys should be talking about your fears, your hopes, your dreams, your weaknesses, your strengths, and you build each other up with that. My friends and I, we've cried to each other, we've completely, broken down and, built each other back up when the other person is feeling down. And if the people in your life, the friends in your life, if you don't feel like they would be there for you when you're at your lowest, or if you don't feel like they would, sacrifice something of theirs to help you, well then maybe you haven't found your people yet. And don't give more of yourself than they would give to you. It's a two-way street. You can't always be sacrificing. At some point, you should be receiving as well. Don't fear failure. That's another one. I have failed. Man. I failed more times than I can count. I've had failures in work. I've gotten fired from jobs. I've had failures romantically, many times. I've had failures in education. I changed my major. I was going after one major when I went into college, but the more I was there, I was finding the classes difficult. I wasn't really passionate about it, and I changed my major. Don't, and that's just off the top of my head. I've had a laundry list of failures, even on YouTube. This is my most successful and longest running YouTube channel, but I've had others. I tried to start a comedy gaming channel with some of my friends. That channel is still up. It was called Red Punk Media. We did like gaming videos, little things like that, and I did that for about a year. I failed at that. I have a channel with some short films and stuff up. Indie Spark Productions. I tried doing a little thing like that. That failed. I have my second channel on here, which at the current moment I only have 2 videos up there, and I haven't uploaded in months. I was originally meant to be doing weekly uploads, so that's sort of a failure even. So you're going to fail a lot, but you can't fear failure, because hopefully, it's not a tragic, life-altering, fatal failure, but from just your regular sorts of failures, you do learn things and you grow. All of the times I have failed, it has taught me something. My failed relationships have taught me what I should be looking to avoid in a relationship. Maybe it's something that I did wrong, that I should not do again, that drove this person away. Maybe it's the personality traits, the whatever in another person that I thought I wanted, but in actuality, maybe I don't. My professional failures, I learned I do well in these types of jobs. In these types of jobs, I don't do well. So I've learned something from all of that, and I've been enriched as a person. But if you're going your entire life avoiding failure, what you're really doing is avoiding taking risks. And if you don't take risks, it is very hard to succeed. I'm not going to say you can't succeed, because there are some people they're very successful and they've played it safe their entire life. But I think for most of us to truly find happiness, to truly find success, you do have to take risks. And most of the time when you take a risk, you're going to fail. But not every failure has to be the end of the line. So don't fear it. On that similar side of that coin, change is good. This is kind of a continuation of the last point. But, failure and change can be different. Failure doesn't always lead to change. Change doesn't always lead to failure, but they're cousins. Let's say they're cousins. They're related a little bit. I've made a lot of changes in my life, and that's even like changes to my plan. So originally, let's just use a recent example. I was getting my degree at university. My original plan was to get a computer science degree and go into programming, software development, whatever, because that was kind of like the in-demand job at the time. Even though now the job market in that sector is cooled considerably and there's been a lot of layoffs, but when I was going to university, because I went to university late in life, again, failure, change, the sort of wisdom on the street was just learn how to code, because that COVID economy with the software development was just white hot. So I was going in, but math has always been an extremely weak subject. Math is my single worst subject in school, bar none. English, history, those sort of things, I was A+. Math and science, the more logical stuff, I was a C student at best. And I was finding that I was really struggling in the calculus and trigonometry classes and stuff required for my computer science degree, so I ended up switching degrees. Minored, or double major, I have political science and digital communications. Right, so that was my first change there. I failed at the computer science thing, changed into something that suited my strengths a little bit better. And then my plan was was I was going to get my bachelor's degree and go teach English overseas, hopefully in Japan, but maybe in Korea. Because the requirements, you just need to be a native English speaker and have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what the degree is in. You don't do any teaching certificates or anything like that. Those are the requirements to be an English teacher in Japan and Korea. So that was what I was working towards. I was like, yep, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to teach English because I'd always wanted to live in Japan, go to Japan. It was my dream destination. I've now been, and now I really want to move there someday, so that was my plan. But then, about 2 semesters before I was set to graduate, my now fiance came into my life. We started talking. We hit it off. We were talking every day, non-stop, long distance. We met up in Canada. We spent a month together in Calgary to see, how would it be like if we were living together, how we got along in person. There was still that spark. We still had that strong relationship. She came over for Christmas again, then I ended up moving here to Australia, long story short. So my plans completely changed. I went from computer science, software developer, working. I had a laundry list of places I wanted to move to. I might do a video about that someday, but I was thinking maybe Atlanta, Georgia, Buffalo, New York, just different places like that. Japan or Korea, to now ultimately living in Sydney, Australia. But every step along that way, my plan made me happier than the previous plan. And I'm extremely happy where I'm at now, even though it is a radical departure and a huge change from what I had originally wanted to do. Now, change isn't always good, right? I'm not gonna say that, but I feel like there's a lot of people that when they have one plan, even if it's theoretical or off in the distance, in their mind it's set in stone and it can't change, and they're working towards that specific thing no matter what, even if it's not really what they want, or maybe there's this other opportunity that's a little bit more enticing, or, oh, that's kind of interesting, maybe I'd like that, but no, I have this thing. But change can be good. And that leads into my next life lesson, which is don't leave room for regret. Don't leave room for regret. Now, this isn't just saying do whatever you want, right? That can be dangerous. But I don't want you to be my age or older or on your deathbed and being like, man, what would my life have looked like if I did this? Or why was I so scared of doing this? Or even if you really like something, why did I wait so long to do this? I've been wanting to do this for years. There's this story I saw one time. I don't know where I saw it or read it, but it was this family who had a house. And this house, they had a basement in their house. And they had a pool table down in the basement, foosball table, couches, all this stuff. It was a really nice, cool hangout area for them and their kids. I think their kids were, 8, 9, 10 or something like that. But then one day something happened and one of the windows down in the basement broke. Okay, and then so the dad, the guy who owned the house, he just put a tarp up over the window and taped over it and kind of did just a rush job to patch it up, and that was that. And he's like, okay, well, one day I'm going to get around to fixing this window or something, because just want those small basement windows. It was going to be an expensive fix. So we'll get around to it later. Then weeks, months, years go by. He never gets around to fixing the window, just sitting there with the tarp covering it up. It's always cold in the basement. It's always drafty. And everyone stops using it. They have the pool table down there. The couch, the foosball table, all that's still sitting down there, but nobody's using it because the window's broken. Years and years go by. His kids grow up, they become teenagers, they go to college, they move out. So him and his wife get ready to sell the house. So as they're getting ready to sell the house, he spends the money, I think it was $2,000-$3,000 all up to get the specialty window, get it installed, everything, $2,000 or $3,000. And just like that, the basement's nice again. The window's there. It's not drafty anymore. There's not water leaking into it in the winter. And he thinks to himself, man, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? Why didn't I do this when my kids were still kids? We missed out on an entire decade of using this basement, of family time, forming memories, because I was too lazy or too cheap to get the window fixed. But now that I'm selling the house, I do this so somebody else can enjoy it. Think of the regret that guy felt. Don't leave room for that regret. Like me. Okay, about the change thing. I was 2 semesters away from getting my degree, going and teaching English in Japan. I'd already been talking with the JET program people. I had my information. I had an account set up. The minute I graduated, I was pretty quickly going to be getting on a plane and flying over. If I would have denied myself the opportunity, start talking to my fiance, but I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to be flying over there, so I can't. No, I would have stopped talking to her, told her no, and whatever. Now think if I had done that right now, I wouldn't be living here. I would be living in Japan. Who knows if I would still be doing the YouTube videos? I probably would. But imagine me in that parallel universe. What would I be talking to you guys about? Would I have regret about not following that line? Not because I can see now I've gotten engaged. I have a very healthy and happy relationship. The best relationship I've ever been in. I live in here. I've found a job that I love in my career field. None of that would have happened. And so don't if there's let's say you're in school and there's that person you want to ask out, but you're so scared to go. What if they say no? What if this, and this? Because I had those people when I was in school. I have those regrets. Or I was like, I wish I would have done this. I should have done that. Maybe you're in college and there's a really interesting person you've been talking to. You're really attracted to them. You're like, man, I really want to ask them out. And the weeks go by. The semester's winding to a close. You're running out of time. You don't know if you're going to have them in any other class. But you keep giving yourself an excuse not to do it. No. You can find a million reasons to tell yourself no. But it's a lot harder to find an excuse to tell yourself yes. But think of that regret, that last day of class, and you're like, nah, never mind, but that final walk back to your car, back to your house, knowing you might never see that person again. And just picture down the line, okay, maybe they do say no, or, okay, well, whatever, but at least you tried. But imagine how different your life could be. And for me, I like traveling. And I was like, I loved road tripping, I loved going to these different places, and I knew I'd regret if I didn't. Before I moved here to Australia, there are certain places I didn't go see, and now I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to see them. Even parts of Portland where I lived my entire life, basically. There's these little places that were on my bucket list, like, oh, I'll go see that, or oh, next week I'll go there next weekend. I said that for years and years and years and years. Realistically, I lived just a few miles away, at most a couple hours away, but I'd always find an excuse. Oh, I'll do that later, oh, next month, next year. Well, now I'm on the other side of the world, and my family doesn't live there anymore. They moved to another state. It's very possible I never go back to Oregon or Washington in my life. And those things that for years I told myself I'll do it later, I might never be able to go do, never go see now. So don't leave room for those regrets. Don't throw away your dreams. Modify them. You know, we're not always going to achieve our dreams. Shoot for the stars, you land among the moon, or shoot for the stars and you'll land on the moon, I think is how the saying goes, you know. Growing up, I wanted to be a Hollywood director. That was my dream. I wanted to make a movie that millions of people went and watched. I took a ton of video classes. I went to film school. I spent all my free time writing scripts that nobody's ever read. But that was my dream. And I didn't achieve that dream. I'm not going to be a Hollywood director. I'm not going to delude myself into thinking that. But I work in a job now where, as part of my job, I'm making digital content. I'm making creative short-form videos. I'm making digital posts with video and audio and photos. I'm making these YouTube videos here, and I don't make a lot of money on these videos, but I make a little bit. And it's a creative outlet for me. So, you know, even though it's not the stars, I do feel like I have landed on the moon. And in my career field, now that I have my foot in the door, I have room for advancement and growth, and to do more and more. Maybe someday I can work for doing video content for like one of the rugby teams here in Australia, or one of the basketball teams, you know, just something, or things like that. So it's adjacent to what I wanted, not exactly what I want. And there's a lot of people who, when they'll aim for the stars, but they won't fire. And everything I always did my entire life was in pursuit of that. You know, out of high school, my friend and I, we started a production company. Started doing short films. We submitted to film festivals. We never won, but we submitted. Did short films that went up on YouTube. Started doing contract work for music videos, for bands, weddings. We did a video for a gym. And after that, friend decided his life was taking him down a different path. I started doing it independently. I did a lot of real estate videos. I did music videos, weddings again, you know, things like that. I continued to work on short films. So even though I wasn't where I wanted to be, I kept pursuing the passion, and that constant pursuit has gotten me to where I am now. So, you know, maybe you won't reach the top of Mount Olympus, but if you keep your sights set there, and you do things with the intention of getting there, you might make it 2/4 the way there, or 2/3 the way there, halfway there, whatever. Instead of being like, you know what, I don't think I can make it to Mount Olympus, so I'm just gonna go to Phoenix, Arizona instead. Yeah, I'm just gonna shoot there. You know, you're not gonna make it all the way, but if you're you're shooting at a target, you have a better chance of hitting it if you're aiming at it than if you just close your eyes and pull the trigger. So modify your dreams, don't throw them away. And find joy in the small things. Because in my experience, unless you are extremely wealthy, extremely lucky, whatever, a lot of life, a lot of your time spent is going to be in the small things. Find joy in the boredom and the downtime. Spending time with a person you enjoy spending time with. Not doing much, because life isn't always going to be, I took those 2 weeks in Japan. I loved that. With my fiance and I, we had an amazing time. And it's one of my favorite memories. But you have to find just as much joy in me and her sitting on the couch Friday night, eating pizza, watching movies, and cuddling as we have there. Because you're going to spend a lot more time in your life with those Friday nights than you are on those vacations or out doing those exciting, expensive things. So you have to find the joy and the love in those small moments, because those are going to be much more plentiful. And if you can cherish those, and if those can make you just as happy as the big things, you're going to have a much better, healthier, happier life. Make time for your hobbies. And this goes back to picking your people. Make sure that you are spending time with people who respect your hobbies. My fiance, her and I, we recognize that we're people that need our personal space and time. She really likes reading. I really like, playing video games, reading other stuff. So there's, a few times a week where, I'm gonna go do this, you go do this, and then in a couple hours we'll come back and spend time with each other. And a lot of people sacrifice the things they like to satisfy or satiate the people in their life. They give up on their hobbies. I have so many people I know who don't have any hobbies. Work, eat, sleep, pretty much it. And they go, what do you do for fun? And I'm not saying everybody needs to be having get into Warhammer 40k or something. But it's if they're not working, eating, or sleeping, they're just sitting there on their phone, scrolling TikTok or doing whatever. But that's not actually enriching your life. That's just wasting time. I'm not saying I don't do that. I certainly do, but find something you enjoy. Read a book. If you don't like reading, build a model set, build a Lego, draw, paint, write, play a game, do whatever. Maybe religion takes that place in your life. Maybe I can't answer that question for you. Learn a language, learn an instrument, but do something in your life that is not for money or because of employment. So it's purely a personal endeavor that is for personal enrichment or enjoyment. Those, not for money and for your own personal enjoyment. That's it. And I think it is very important to take time to do that at least every week, if not every day. And finally, the last thing I'll say is, and this is something that, this is a talking point being in poli-sci that I throw around a lot. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Just because your life hasn't turned out perfect, and mine certainly has. Or excuse me, hasn't. My life is not perfect in any way. And I don't try to pretend that it is. I don't think. I'm very upfront that it's not. Don't be unhappy, because I still have a good life. I have had a good life, even though I've had a lot of bad things happen in my life. I'm divorced. I've had people die. I've had all these things, these tragedies in my life. Not as much as some, more than others. Not a contest, reason if I was self-loathing enough that I could be like, my life sucks, I'm depressed, I give up, I'm just gonna wallow in my misery. And I have had periods of that in my life, and I do suffer from depression. I've been to therapy for it. But if you're gonna be miserable, unless everything is perfect, then you're always gonna be miserable, because nothing is perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. There was a great quote by Jim Carrey. I believe it was Jim Carrey. I don't know if he came up with this quote or if he was quoting somebody else, and I might butcher it, but Jim Carrey said that, I hope that everybody in the world can get everything they've ever wished for, so that they can see that that won't make them happy. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, because happiness comes from within, not from outside. So if you're expecting, oh, I'm not happy because this or this or this, and once this changes, then I'll finally be happy, I promise you that it won't. No external factor changing will make you happy if you aren't already, because that's, for the most part, obviously, there's mental conditions, disorders, whatever, but generally speaking, for most people, happiness comes from within, not from without. And you can find every excuse in the book, every reason in the book not to be happy, but it's still a choice that you make. So I hope maybe something here helps somebody. I don't know. Like I said, I'm now officially old. Maybe this is my method of coping about all that, but I'm going to try to be better this week, more uploads. Again, apologies on that. And yeah, guys, stay safe out there. I hope this helps somebody. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this almost every single day. Till next time,